Mr. Doddridge is here with all of his medals on. He is a war hero, even though he might not say so. He's been through a lot, and it's very exciting for him to be here. And he's going to tell a little bit of his story. Come on up, Mr. Phil. Thank you for coming today.
Good. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
My name is Tom. I'm friends with yeah, exactly, Mr. Phil Doddridge. Does anybody here know Mr. Phil? Does anybody? Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Where do you know him from? You met him before?
Yeah. Yes.
Where did you meet him? Remembrance Day, a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What can you tell me about Mr. Phil? Do you remember anything about him? Can you tell me a couple of things about Mr. Phil?
No. He's 96 years old.
I'll let that finish. Are we done?
Yeah.
Okay, good. What was that? Somebody said
He's 96 years
he's
old.
96 years old. What else can you tell me about him?
He fought at Hong Kong.
He fought at Hong Kong. Very good. Very good. And then, pardon me? Well, you guys are on the right track. This is all true. Mr. Phil was born in Richmond, born not too far from here, actually, in 1922. 1922. So if you do the math, you're right. It means that he's 96 years old. And when Mr. Phil was, that's what I call him. I call him Mr. Phil. You can call him Mr. Doddridge, or I'm pretty sure you can call him Mr. Phil as well.
Well, call me Phil. Everybody else does.
And when Mr. Phil was 18 years old, he joined the Army back in 1940. He joined the Army along with quite a few of his friends from here in Richmond. And there were 52 young people from Richmond in 1940 who joined the Royal Rifles, called the Royal Rifles. And eventually they ended up going to Hong Kong, where they were involved in the Battle of Hong Kong. Does anybody know anything about the Battle of Hong Kong?
No.
What happened in Hong Kong? Go ahead.
Oh, my great-grandfather was there. His name was Clifford.
Your great-great-grandfather was in Hong Kong. What was
I think he had two brothers.
Clifford.
Clifford Meredith.
Oh,
There you go. Mr. Phil knows Clifford Meredith.
no more.
Yeah, Clifford Meredith, and he had two brothers that were there. There was Clifford,
Eddie
Eddie,
and Earl.
Earl Meredith.
Eddie was killed.
What?
So your grandfather was Clifford, right?
Yeah.
Great-grandfather. What else can you tell me about the Battle of Hong Kong? Oh, Hunter.
My great-grandfather Roddy was in it too.
Your great-grandfather?
Roddy.
Roddy?
Cool.
Yep.
Roddy Cool. Wow.
My great-great-grandfather also went in the war.
Okay, what was his name?
I didn't know his name.
No?
No.
I knew it.
Wow. Okay. So, I'll tell you just a little bit about the Battle of Hong Kong. What happened there was there was a battle between the Canadians and the Japanese, and eventually the survivors of the battle were taken prisoner. And Mr. Phil was one of those Canadians who was taken prisoner. He spent 44 months
That's a while.
as a prisoner of war.
Almost 4 years, yeah.
That's almost 4 years. Yeah. And he was just a young man. When the war ended, he was 23. And after the war, does anybody know what Mr. Phil did after the war?
Went back?
No. No.
He relaxed it.
Mr. Phil, after the war, became What did you do,
Famous.
what did you do, Mr. Phil, after the war? What was your trade after the war? What was your profession after the war? Mr. Phil was a teacher. He was a school teacher. Yeah. And then he became a school principal. And then, yeah, so he's familiar with classrooms and all of that. There you go.
He was here at this school as a principal.
Were you a principal in New Richmond?
No, in Sept-Îles.
Sept-Îles. In Sept-Îles. So there you go. What can you tell me about the poppy? We'll change the subject in just a second. What can you tell me about the poppy?
Some people died in the war.
Very good. Very good.
It represents like Flanders Fields.
It represents Flanders Fields. Very good. Very good. So hopefully this works.
If not, we have a little.
If not, we can just do the space bar. You're absolutely right. It represents Flanders Fields. And Flanders Fields, does anybody know what country Flanders Fields is in?
England.
Oh, you're close.
I
Close.
know, but I forgot the name.
Belgium. Belgium. And 100 years ago in Belgium, there was the First World War. Did you guys learn a little bit about the First
Yeah.
World War?
Yeah.
100 years ago, very good.
This is it's 100 years from 1918.
Very good, very good. Exactly. So 100 years ago, this November 11th, will be 100 years since the end of the First World War.
Yeah, 11.
And the reason why we use the poppy is because of the poem in Flanders Fields. Does anybody here know the poem in Flanders Fields?
Oh.
Do you think we'll be able to recite the Flanders Fields? How about
Not the
if
guy
I,
who wrote it,
what's the name of the guy who wrote it?
John McCrae.
Oh, very good. Do you think you could, yeah, go ahead.
My brother's a McCrae.
Your brother?
Yeah.
Is it McCrae? Oh, yeah, good. So
McCrae.
does anybody think that they can recite the poem? How
Want to
about,
see a poem?
how about we'll try it together? We'll see how that works. It doesn't look, I'm not sure we'll be able to read it. So if I say the first sentence of the poem in Flanders Fields, it's in Flanders Fields.
The poppies blow, row and row.
Okay, in Flanders Fields, the poppies blow. Between the crosses, row and row, that mark our place.
And in the sky.
Still bravely singing, fly,
As the guns blow.
scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie.
In Flanders Fields.
Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you, from failing hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep. Very good, very good.
There's a video of that.
There's a video of that.
Yeah.
Did you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Very good. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Phil? Are we curious about anything about Mr. Phil? We can ask him any question. Go ahead.
Why does he have so much medal please?
Why does he have so many medals?
Well, I guess it's because I was there when it happened.
Any other questions? Anything at all? Do you know what these medals represent? Do we want? Yeah. Do we want to? Are you curious to see what? You can come closer. Are you curious to know what they are?
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually have a list. He's got so many that I need a list.
You know, list?
A list for all the different medals.
Looks like he has 25.
Yeah, 25? I think probably very close to 25. Yeah. We'll start from here. see this one? That's called the 39 to 45 star. When did World War II happen? World War II.
942.
39.
Exactly. 1939 to 1945. That's the medal he received for that. The next one is the Pacific Star. The Pacific Star.
What's the Pacific Star for?
Yeah. Does anybody know Pacific Star? What do you think that's for?
The battle?
Because Hong Kong is located on the Pacific Ocean, right? So he got that for that. He also has a Canadian Volunteer Medal. And he has the Victory Medal. Which one's the Victory Medal?
We have the Defense of Britain first,
Okay. Defense of Britain and then Victory Medal?
and Canadian Volunteer Service Medal.
Okay,
And
Canadian.
you got 2 medals.
I got 2, yeah. I don't have very many. So look at the difference.
2?
Look at the
There's a
difference.
million like this. Like
Yeah,
a million right there. There's
exactly.
2.
So I don't have very many compared to him.
Are the medals heavy? Are they heavy?
Yeah, we have.
Yeah.
Why you only have
Later.
2?
Why do I only have 2?
Yeah.
Because I didn't do as many things as Mr. Phil. I was only in for when I was in the military, there was no war. So it was peacetime. So I was lucky, right?
And orange flag.
Oh, sorry, the question right there.
Has he ever won the Queen Victoria Medal?
Or the Victoria Cross we talked about. I
Okay,
think that's what
Victoria
it is.
Cross? No, he doesn't have the Victoria Cross. But there was somebody in Hong Kong that got the Victoria Cross, right, Mr. Phil?
Yes.
Who was it?
John Osborne,
Yeah.
Sergeant Major John Osborne.
Yeah, so Mr. Phil, in the Battle of Hong Kong, the battle that he was in, there was a soldier by the name of John Osborne who received the Victoria Cross. So you can maybe Google that later. John Osborne, Victoria Cross.
Does it say
What's that? Sorry?
Does it say Osborne?
Osborne, that was his name. John Osborne, yeah, no.
Your last name is Gideon, his was Osborne.
That's it. That's it. Any other questions? Hunter, you must have a question. You always have questions. No?
What's the Victoria Cross medal for anyway? Bravery.
Oh, go ahead.
I think I know how come Osborne got the Victoria Cross.
Okay, go ahead.
Because they were fighting and like they were holding a position, and there's a Japanese grenade, and he shoved a man out of the way and he jumped on it chest first.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's how he did it.
Very good. Good job. Good job.
Then our dog, of course, got the
Yes.
gander.
If I say the word gander, go ahead.
The dog?
The dog, exactly. What
He
could-
saved lives too.
He saved lives too, for sure.
He died because he didn't let the bomb go in time.
That's right. That's right. What kind of dog was gander?
It was a Newfie dog.
There you go. Do you know the story of how they acquired the dog? Maybe Mr. Phil can tell us about how did you acquire the dog gander?
Okay, well, when we were in Newfoundland, there was a family that owned this big dog, Gander. Well, he was a Newfoundlander dog, but he was adopted by a regiment and he came with us to Hong Kong. And during the invasion, there was a Japanese threw a grenade, which is a small bomb, and it landed among a group of our Canadian soldiers. The dog ran in and grabbed the grenade and ran away with it, and the grenade exploded. Of course, it killed the dog, but it saved the lives of 5 or 6 of our people. So he was,
Did it kill some of the other people that threw the bomb?
pardon me?
Did it kill some of the other dogs?
No,
No, it does.
just him.
Oh.
And he was got the Dickin Medal, which is a medal for animals that served during the war. It's called the Dickin Medal, and I think there's a picture of it, isn't it?
There it is right here.
Incredible.
If we, can everybody see this? Here.
No.
Is that the dog who died?
That's the dog who died.
Yeah.
Gander was
The
his name.
grenade?
Yeah.
They have it in its mouth?
Yeah.
That was a big bird
Yeah.
Did he save your guys' lives?
No.
The question was, did he save anybody's life?
Well, he
Yes.
did. 5 or 6 people.
That's it. Any other questions? Oh, go ahead.
How did the dog save people's lives?
How did he save people's lives? Well,
How did they not die by the bomb?
Well, if the grenade had stayed there, it would have killed these 5 or 6 people when it exploded.
How did the dog make people move? 6 people move or 5?
He
No.
didn't make people move, he grabbed the grenade and ran away with it to save everyone.
How was I supposed to grab a grenade?
With his mouth. He picked it up
We
with his
just
mouth.
chose it?
yeah, just chopped it with his mouth.
Yep.
He probably thought it was a toy. No, he could have.
I'm sorry, we
The
just-
dog, why would they bring a
She said, he probably thought it was a chew toy, is what she said.
They trained it.
Oh, go ahead.
Was there other pets in the war?
Were there other pets in the war?
Oh, yes. Not with us, but elsewhere. There was, the Dickin Medal was granted for dogs, there's cats, donkeys even, and even pigeons.
Pigeons, what?
Pigeons, yeah, for carrying messages during the war.
I thought that.
Yeah.
That's my phone,
Well,
sorry. Good.
Do you remember one of the messages you guys sent?
Do you remember any of the messages? What kind of messages would the pigeons send?
Oh, I don't know what you could find out, I'm sure, by going on the internet.
Yeah. They used to, because they used to use pigeons, and they would write a message on a little piece of paper, and the pigeon was trained. The pigeon would know where to go and deliver the message.
That's before the days of
You mean drop
internet.
it in your
Yeah.
little...
No, the pigeon would land. It was trained. The pigeon was trained, right? And it would land at a particular place and deliver a message.
Nobody suspected the pigeon.
Go ahead, Hunter.
what would you eat when you were held prisoner?
Oh,
What did I eat?
Yeah.
Bread.
the question was, what did you eat when you were a prisoner?
Rice,
That's all?
just about that.
Did you lose any
Fish.
weight?
Fish now and then, some.
Did you lose any weight when you were a prisoner?
Oh, yes, yes, sir. I weighed 84 pounds one time, I think.
I have a question.
Go ahead. What's your name first? What's your name?
Kirkland.
Kirkland. Okay, go ahead, Kirkland.
Some pigeons drop messages and put it on a little parachute when they drop it. Little parachute, they drop it in the pig, and I'll just look down.
Parachute pop out of it.
No, I don't think they use parachutes. I think for the pigeons, we're talking about the pigeons. I don't think that they dropped the parachute. I think the pigeon actually landed on
Feel?
near the person. Yeah, they were trained like that.
So the message was probably tied onto their neck or something.
Yeah,
I think the
I'm not sure.
pigeon.
Not sure. Oh, go ahead.
Would they write messages from the prison?
Did you write messages when you were in prison?
No, I didn't. Some workers did, but I didn't.
How about letters? Did you write letters?
Yes, I wrote a letter to my mother. I wrote several, and they were delivered. And I have a copy of one of the cards that I wrote to my mother.
Did you receive any parcels when you were a prisoner?
No, I didn't. I received, yes, I should say, I received 1.5 Red Cross parcels.
Okay. And what was a red cross parcel?
What was it?
Yeah, what was in it?
Food in it, a can of butter and a can of bully beef or something, I suppose, and some biscuits. And that's about it.
Okay.
Are you gonna run the space by too?
No, not yet.
I have a question.
Oh,
Did you bring back any souvenirs or anything from your time in
Yes,
the
I
prison?
And most of them are in the museum now, the military museum.
So kids can look at them?
Huh?
So kids can look at them?
So kids can look at them, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can go look at them in the museum.
What kind of things did you bring back?
Well, I brought back a sword, a Japanese sword.
A sword.
And,
Did you use that in the war?
huh?
Did you use that in the war?
No, I just took it from the Japanese after the war.
You earned it?
I would say he earned it.
Yes.
And I have bought a pair of sneakers and flag and fan and some little things like that. But they're all in the museum now, if you want to go and see them there.
Where's the museum over there?
Yeah.
Up the White Mountain.
What's your name?
Fred.
Okay, I saw that.
Fred,
Fred?
I saw his stuff in the museum, like
It is.
Same,
the sword, the type of Japanese shoes, the fan.
yeah.
The gun.
Very good.
I have another question.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll ask.
Yeah.
Do you remember the day when you found out that the war was over and that you were free?
I do.
And what did it feel like?
I felt, oh, it's hard to describe, and nobody, you wouldn't understand what it was like. It's just,
No, and I won't pretend to either.
after 4 years of you know, what I went through, and then to suddenly be released. I have a little bit of a story about that on my website, if you'd like to check it sometime. It's how I felt, just a feeling of elation that you can't describe.
So you have a website?
Yes,
Because I'm sure they would all like to check it out later.
Okay, it's
Yeah.
just, Memories Uninvited is the title of it.
Perfect.
So when you got out of the war, did you have to go to a hospital for a bit after, or did they just send you back to Canada?
Well, I came back to Canada, and then I was in the hospital for a couple of weeks, but it was only for, you know,
To build you up?
yeah,
Yeah,
but I wasn't sick.
good. There was a lot of people sick
Oh,
though.
yeah.
What are some of the, what is the main lesson what's the main lesson that we want to,
I think probably we should avoid war at all costs. War is evil and it never solved anything. Nobody ever won a war.